yeah, there won't be a problem like before. That's normally what I do anyway. All right, now for the regular schedule, jokes or storytelling. Yeah, I like the stage lights on bright. Then I'm more focused on me and not what other people are doing. Oh, yes. I go to the Spire Credit Union annual meeting. This is the third year that I've done that because that's where I got a good deal on my car loan. They have it at Mega Church in Eden Prairie. And I liked what they had to say about doing the annual meeting. It's no surprise. People like money. And you get a ticket, and then when you turn it in, you get $25. And according to what they said there, when they first started doing that 8 years ago, the annual meeting attendance was about 150, and now it's over 4,000. So I guess I'm not alone on showing up because I like money. I think that's why it was appropriate that they were playing some Beatles songs there. One of them was I Want to Hold Your Hand, but the other one that was more appropriate was Can't Buy Me Love. I don't care too much for money. Money can't buy me love. It's like, yeah, I guess that one does kind of fit when it's a credit union. And then I'll have to come back to that later on as to why I mentioned one of the Beatles songs. That makes sense only to me, at least for now. And it's also a reminder the way people are. There was a bottleneck when people were leaving. Yeah, and I even made a comment about it. Yeah, not everybody shows up at the same time, but everyone wants to leave at the same time. And then there were some people around me that just wanted to complain about that. And I think that's a perfect way of saying, I'm old. I mean, they don't know what to do other than complain about something. Yeah, that's not going to change the situation. I mean, sometimes you just got to wait until things improve. In some ways, that's neither here nor there, but it's still kind of cool to be there. Yeah, I chose that credit union because they have name recognition being a sponsor of the St. Paul Saints. Well, a lot of things I have because of name recognition, so I guess it works on some of their advertising. All right. Karaoke. I often do that for stage time, and I'm still amazed at some of the comedy material I get from doing karaoke. I don't believe in stunts to get comedy material. For me, I'm dour, and things just fall into my lap. So this weekend I did some karaoke, and I guess it proves that one saying that people have about sometimes you got to do things that scare you, and yeah, sometimes when I'm not performing, I end up being more comfortable than I ever expected I would be around total strangers. Because I'm out in the middle of the floor singing my song, and then there was a girl next to me that I guess wanted to act like she was singing along with me. And then I finally said to her, it just looked like you were doing the sign language interpretation. I couldn't tell what she was doing, all these gestures. And then on my other side, eventually, I got a young dude that put his arm around me while I was singing, and he wanted to talk to me while I was singing. It's like, yeah, I figured he would have gotten the memo. I'm a little busy right now because I'm the one singing. Yeah, I did Lightning Crashes by Live, and then he was asking me about that song. He said he grew up with that song, and it's like, that song was popular when I was at college in Iowa City, and I said, that probably dates me a little, but, there are different things that are going to show your age on that one, so I guess eventually that was going to come out. And sometimes you've got to do laundry. That has led to some weird stories as well, going to laundromats. Some people would say, why don't I do it where I live? Well, I want to do it all at once, and sometimes that means you got to do it off-site. So at the laundromat, I'm just waiting for the load to be done, and then I can switch loads. And then there was a older man in there, and he was asking me about sandwich shops like Jimmy John's. And it's like, all right, well, I'll talk about food. Everybody needs to eat. And I said, no, I'm not aware of any of those type of sandwich shops around. But I said, you can find good food in a lot of different places. I mean, I found good food at gas stations. And some places I go to not necessarily for the food, like a hot dog place. You can get that anywhere, but sometimes I like the ambiance, the way they decorate the place. I mean, I've got to be honest about that. It's all about what you want in terms of food. And then he ended up leaving after a while, so I don't know why he was there, other than he just wanted to talk about food. I guess he wasn't there to do laundry. But I'm sure he's not the only one who has just wandered in from the street before at a place like that. I heard about one laundromat that would close overnight because they said otherwise homeless people would sleep there. It's like, somehow that doesn't surprise me at all. But then there was another dude there with his wife and daughter who was doing laundry, and I was on my phone just checking the voicemail, and it looked like he was trying to mock me just to get a reaction out of me. It's like, yeah, I've lived in the big city long enough to know that when somebody baits you, don't take the bait, starve the beast. So I just minded my own business until I left, because I figured err on the side of caution. There's no need to get into an unnecessary fight in a laundromat. But yeah, a lot of weirdos out there anywhere you go. So yeah, there's that. And now I guess I can get back to why I talked about one of the Beatles songs. I called my dad this week, and I talk to him every so often, and I said, "Hey Dad, I thought of you when I was at an event and I heard a Beatles song." Because he would, I remember when he'd have visitation every other week when I was in high school, and then he'd play music to wake me up in the morning on Sunday for church. And sometimes he'd tell stories about some of that music. It was either Tommy James or he also liked the Beatles. And with the Beatles, he said, yeah, that song, I Want to Hold Your Hand. He would say, Holding Hands in Minnesota, because he would hear it when he was driving up to Minnesota for National Guard duty at Camp Oakland in the Little Falls in the 60s. And it's like, well, it's kind of nice you're finally sharing some of these stories, because I came from a dysfunctional family, and for too long, he couldn't find any positive things to say about his parents. And I think it wasn't until I was out of college where I finally screamed at him and said, hey, Grandpa died when I was an infant. I didn't know him at all. Can you say something positive about it? And then he tried a little harder, so he was paying attention. And I got to saying at one point, well, I must have inherited my grandfather's sense of humor, because apparently, like many people, usually they're just school kids, they would vulgarize things. And I guess it was the generation gap on music, thanks to Les Paul and the guitar, where the older generation wasn't big on the guitar rock, they were used to big band. And he vulgarized and said, I wanted to hold your dick. And it's like, yeah, that is kind of weird. I don't know how to respond to that. And then Dad said about that was, yeah, he liked making fun of a lot of different things. Yeah, I can kind of gather that if he vulgarized a Beatles song. But he said, you don't say anything about Connie Francis in front of him. And it's like, oh, okay, I guess everybody has their limits and preferences on that one. I have heard of who Connie Francis is. I know she was in a movie called Where the Boys Are. I have to look her up further.
Yeah. Oh, hi.
I guess that's my time. Thank you, great.